Okay, okay.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, how to stay focused, grow your network, and get more done in less time. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people for a conversation. You may be watching us live. You might be watching the replay. You may be listening to us as Goal Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network. No matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here. And today we're talking about a topic which I think is especially important in these challenging times. We're talking about humor. And I have with me the amazing Amy Ferris, who, by the way, happens to be a secret in 52 Secrets, and Rob Kutner, who I believe is the first endorsement of 52 Secrets. Okay, maybe you're the second. It's fine. I just wait a second. You were the first, and then they reread it. Okay, Deb, read your book more often. My point is...
I like to think of...
What was that?
I consider myself the 53rd secret.
Oh, well, there's 60.
Oh, so 61.
Oh, no. 61st.
Yeah.
Okay, 61st.
Yeah, we're authors. Let's not pretend we do math. Or we can pretend we do math.
Yes, exactly. I was told there would not be math.
Yes, there will not be math, only good conversation. But before we jump in, I know you guys pretty well. And actually, I think I met you both in real life in LA around the same time, like 10, 12 years ago, because Amy was visiting LA for this wonderful event at the bookstore in the Pacific Palisades. Unfortunately, neither of which are there anymore. Like I said, we need humor, definitely. And then Rob and I met because you were on a panel of Sublime Prime Time. And as we do in the social media age, we meet, we connect on Facebook, and we stay in touch. But beyond you being awesome, please share why exactly you are awesome. Amy, let's start with you.
Why am I awesome?
Yeah, who are you and why are you awesome?
I think because am I allowed to use the word fuck?
Well, I would not expect
Too late.
to do a show without you swearing. I am prepared.
Okay, because I am a badass motherfucker.
Without question. And why is it? I mean, I've known you for years, but...
You have. You know what? You have known me for years. I think because I write the truth, I tell the truth, I stand in my truth, I protect the people I love, I have their back, I hold their heart. I think, this is my 33rd anniversary coming up on Thursday with my husband. And I would say that I am definitely a woman who they name hurricanes after. How's that?
I would say you are definitely a force. And the world needs more forces. And they need voices in challenging times to not just tell the truth, but to lighten up the life, to help people empower and move forward. I
definitely would agree with you 1000%. And I have to say that I am so happy to be here with you. You and I in that bookstore 100 years ago.
Or 12 or 13.
That was pretty extraordinary.
Well, people come into your life at different times. And I was about to tell you this before we went live, but when I was gathering people for my book, we knew that you were going through a lot of stuff with your husband and what he's been dealing with. And my mom just insisted. She said, reach out to Amy. She might say no, but she might say yes. So that extra meaningful, right?
Your mom was
such
a champion of not only me, but so many women.
Yeah.
She really was. I will never forget her coming to the bookstore in the Palisades. And, I know we're not going to go sad tonight because we're doing comedy, but she was extraordinary. You are extraordinary. And you've held her so deep in your heart. And I am grateful that I knew you.
Okay, yes, humor. We're talking humor. Thank you. That means the world to me, Amy. And Amy is a fabulous author. You didn't even give any of your credentials. So this is what I remember. Marrying George Clooney just came out, and my mother was determined to get it to George Clooney.
Oh, she was. Oh my God. She was so determined to get the book to George Clooney. And
I don't know that we did.
That was so amazing. She was so determined.
I love that.
I don't think he's ever read the book. I don't think he even knows about it. But you know what? That's okay. We have a lot of other things to talk about tonight.
Talking about a force meeting a force. Rob, welcome, force.
Well, you want me to follow someone who? You want me to follow a badass motherfucker? How do I even do that?
You know, if there was any guy to bring into this conversation, it is you, and hence you are here.
I mean, StreamYard didn't have a mic drop function, right? Because Amy would have utilized it. But I would say that I am relentlessly committed to advancing the cause of joy, even in the face of all of it.
Ooh.
And you do that on multiple mediums as well.
Yes.
For example,
I'm a multi-headed hydra, a multi-headed hydra.
Hydra.
Of dad jokes too. That's another one who didn't even mention the dad jokes. So I wrote for Late Night for 20 years for Conan O'Brien, for Jon Stewart, for Dennis Miller, and then I've written now. As of this year, it'll be 7 books, but so far in print, 5 books on topics ranging from most recently the history of the Jewish people to Snot Goblins and disgusting monsters for kids to the Marvel hero Ant-Man to optimistic scenarios for living your best life after the apocalypse.
Because if you can write about all those things, why wouldn't you?
Why not? Why not? And then I'm currently trying to work in animation, and I've worked on. I think we've talked about it in your show. Worked on a show called God's Gang, an interfaith action comedy show, and that's where I'm trying to sort of pivot my career towards right now. I moved from Late Night, and I'm trying to sort of shift gears mid-career, and so that's been a really good thing, and also still an ongoing challenge.
And you were on our friend Katie Chin's Instagram live show last week.
Yes, and you were in the chat.
I was, because every now and then it's fun to watch someone else who I've interviewed interview someone else who I've interviewed.
I know. It's like Inception or something, right? It's like Inception or something.
Well, what was really interesting is you were talking in your conversation about superpowers, and Katie said something about your superpower being humor, and I had to chime in. Well, that's what we're talking about on Gold Chat, and humor is okay. We know this is a well-known fact. I am never funny when I'm trying to be funny. Ever. When I'm not trying to be funny, I am hilarious. So is humor nature or is it nurture?
Oof, did you just Go ahead, Rob. You go,
No,
Rob.
well, did you have a response? Did you have a response, Amy? Oh,
go ahead.
That is fascinating because you know, I'm just speaking for myself only. Like, there's some effort, and there's also some, I don't know if you want to call it Zen or being in the moment, looseness, responsiveness, which sounds like the second thing that you're talking about. But I guess it's also like the thing of like, it's not like I'm saying, okay, be funny. You know, like, look, you know, like if I was like, you know, an Olympic runner, I would be saying like, run faster, 2 longer strides, 2 better breathe. I would actually be giving myself prompts. Like, I'm not like saying, be funny, be wittier, you know? So there is something a little bit unconscious about it. And then it's funny that you said that when you're not trying it. So something about like how you're in the moment. To me, humor is ultimately just sort of a response to the world. So you have that responsiveness going on. I think that is called that's why it's called a sense of humor, I think.
Ooh, I like
that.
I
like that.
What do you think, Amy?
I'm just going to hang out with the two of you because I'm going to learn a whole lot tonight. I am. That was great. That was really, really good. That was a great answer.
Okay, now follow that. Mic drop.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a great conversation.
I do have a question for you. So
yeah, for me,
what was it like? Yes, what was it like writing for all of those on all of those shows? What was it like for you?
I mean, can you be more specific than maybe more concrete?
What was I can be much more specific. What was it like writing for Letterman? Yeah.
No, for Conan and Jon Stewart.
Oh, Conan, and what was it like being in a writer's room? What was it like?
So it was interesting because it was great in the sense that you were with like a lot of like really like-minded people, very sort of more or less similar sensibilities. You were all there for a reason, and you had this challenge of putting on a show almost daily. I mean, really, it's 4 nights a week, but it might as well be daily because it takes you spend Friday preparing for the next week. So you have this like train leaving the station kind of energy. So it's actually good because it actually unites. It's a bunch of people who might normally could be more fractious, but have a common urgency tying them together. And then and then what's interesting for me, like over the long sweep, it was really fun to put those shows together. And then over the longest sweep of my career, at the end, it became feeling a little bit like kind of lost in like the crowd of other voices and wanting to do more things that were just sort of from my own point of view and that sort of thing, which is, the more recent turn to books and that sort of thing.
I love that. Thank you. That's a really wonderful. Now I have some kind of idea what it's like. Thank you.
And so, Amy, you've written those screenplays and plays, not just books.
I have, but it's been very much my own. So for someone like Rob,
you've had the opposite experience, right?
Total opposite. And I loved hearing that he said that. No, for me, it's always been, I wrote a movie and then a couple of books, and it's been a very isolating experience for me. And that's way different than being, in a writer's room and like having a lot of, incredible writers sitting down and, tossing stuff out. But I will say that being a screenwriter is like, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, it's like being in an abused relationship because you hand in your screenplay and then somebody else comes in and rewrites you. And then somebody else comes in and you never feel like whatever you've written is good enough. It's like, oh, we love what you wrote, but we want to give it to someone else. That's kind of, that I'm no wonder I have many issues.
It's funny because that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you, have you found that with your writers' rooms?
Well, just to go back to an earlier point that Amy was making, so I think that I think there's a bit of a grass is always greener thing for sure. Both the situations, because now I've been on both sides of it, and I can definitely see the advantages. And now I haven't been in late night in 7 years, and I do sometimes miss like The Office, especially since I have kids. I miss The Office. I miss the collegiality, and just sort of be more kind of in touch with things in a way that you weren't when you work at home and you're online all day. You're still not in touch with picking up on things. I think the way that you are when you work with other people.
That's true.
And then also I've also but then. To address the second point, I think that what was the specific second question? Now I got so caught up in remembering the first thing that I forgot the second one.
Oh,
do you remember
Oh, are you talking about my question? I asked if you had the same experience because I've been in collaborative rooms as well, where you throw something out and people
the rejection
take
stuff.
it in different directions.
Oh no, that was
the rejection stuff. I love
that's
it.
That's what I was. And that's why I almost interrupted this before when Amy was speaking, is because I was going to say, like, that's actually almost really the polar opposite, because it's almost just drilled out of you from day one in late night that you have any attachment. I mean, first of all, just the definition of it is that it is someone else's thing, right? Like, you're working for someone else's thing. Like, you're definitely work for hire. So any illusion that you have some auteur connection to your material is already like out the door when you walk in. But then also, like, even the process is very iterative. What you're describing about people rewriting it, that's just what happens sort of across the collective. I mean, that's to a lesser extent.
So, Rob, I have another question. Are you okay with me asking him a question?
I'm perfect. Like I said before,
well,
usually I have 3. I had 2 people for a reason. So please go ahead.
No, Rob. So
she's stepping up. Yeah.
Rob,
that's you were.
When you're in a writer's room for Conan or any of those, did anybody ever say to you, "Oh my God, that isn't funny," or "No, that needs to be," do you know what I mean? Did you ever feel like what you were contributing wasn't good enough or made you feel bad?
Okay, Rob, I don't know what happened to your connection, but
Deb, was that an okay question?
Oh no, it was a perfect question, but we can't hear your answer, Rob, so that's the problem.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just be 2 chicks right now talking about.
Well, until we get you back, Rob. What I was going to go into, and we can double back when we get Rob back here, is there's writing to be funny.
Yeah.
And then there's writing with humor. So for you, what is the difference? Because I think with you, it's the second thing. Right?
No, with me, it's not writing to be funny at all. And I think you know that.
Yes.
It's more because I'm not a funny writer, but I do write with humor. I mean, my writing is not all, but most of my writing has to do with finding the humor in a situation. And you know what's really bizarre that you would ask me that? That was asked when we were in the Palisades. And that's so nuts to me, because somebody said, did you intentionally want this to be funny? And I didn't. But it was funny. It's finding the humor in a really kind of like tough, weird situation. And I remember specifically because I was so taken aback by that question. And I thought, oh my God, what an amazing question. Because how many of us, oh, he's back.
He has returned. It's an Easter miracle.
He's returned. We have a hero. We have a man. And yes. He's back. So Rob,
yes,
I'm going to tell you that Deb asked me, is there a difference between writing funny and writing humor? And I was answering that. So maybe you can now answer, is there a difference between writing humor and writing funny? Because you do both. I don't do both.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's actually one of the, not to get self-promotional on your marketing show, but it is one of the sort of defining points of the Jewish humor book that I just wrote, which is I wrote it in a couple of different registers because of the length and breadth and complexity and modern resonance, I guess, of the ancient source material. So sometimes it was just presenting information which I had to kind of get across, and it was a little bit dry or it was tough going. It was grim stuff. I would call that writing funny, because it was like writing it, presenting the information, but just trying to add some style to it or a quip. And the writing humor was sometimes it would be more like going a little bit more high concept, I guess is what they might say, like going for a funnier overall idea that has comedic layers to it beyond the subject matter. So sometimes I would use other formats that were more like little sketches or first person character pieces where there was more of a conceit to it. Like, for example, like the opening essay is in the book is the story of the Garden of Eden told from the point of view of the snake. So you see there's a whole like comedic conceit to it, and while it covers things in a certain way, it covers points of view and information, it doesn't have the same sort of it's driven by a comedic idea, and then like otherwise I have whole chapters talking about like, you know, the Dark Ages or the you know, medieval times, which are just horrible periods for the Jews, and it's just like presenting the information and just trying to keep it as light as I possibly can. Because to play a game like that, to play a character game would be inappropriate to that sort of thing, because it would be sort of glib, I think, and it would be like being playful with someone's life in a way that you wouldn't, you know, with a fictional character like the snake.
How did you come up with that?
With the snake thing?
Yeah. How did you?
I think what I was trying to do was, well, you know, so I had this challenge with the book that a lot of the history is historical and has some historical documentation, and then also a lot of it doesn't. And some of the most quote unquote famous or, you know, brand awareness, most popular part of it, biblical stuff, doesn't have any historical record. And yet it's sort of treated as this kind of pseudo history. And yet it's super important to the story underlying the history. So it's like, how do I deal with that? So rather than sort of try to like the writing funny kind of omniscient quote unquote historian talking about a non-historical subject, I figured I might as well try to introduce some ideas, some angles into it, you know, to kind of ground, really also because it was the you know, sort of this opening essay is to sort of plant a contrarianism, I think, at the heart of the whole enterprise. The Jews are always sort of contrarian and don't fit in, go their own way, get kicked out, zigzag, you know, different way and pivot, fight back against God, argue even with God. You know, we're the most contrarian people. Like Israel literally means the people who wrestle with God. So just sort of setting up the contrarianism of like the alternate point of view of the snake from the beginning, I think was, and also I kind of make a point with it that like getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden was the best thing that ever happened to people, because then we became explorers for knowledge and, you know, had to make moral choices, which is more, you know, layered and, you know, mature and that sort of stuff like that. And specifically for the Jews, you know, wanting about the good and evil has been like hallmark, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
So there are, and there's so many different ways though to be writing funny is the point, right?
Yeah.
There's the joke, there's the subtlety, there's the well, it's all creative, and then there's infusing humor in your work, which is the primary of what Amy does, but you do that a little for some of your projects as well, right, Rob?
You mean just try to infuse it as like, what do you
okay, Snot Goblins is like, it's a gross graphic novel, which is dad jokes and kid jokes and laughter for the whole family. That intention is this. For you, Amy, your books are more, shall we say, subtle.
Oh yeah.
So
thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. Yes, my books are much more subtle. Yeah.
More subtle than Snot Goblins.
I'm more subtle than Snot Goblins.
Yeah.
And we've already determined that I'm only funny when I'm not trying to be funny. Amy, is it just who you are, that what you write has that humorous tone, or do you go into it intentionally?
Oh, I don't go into it intentionally at all. I think it's very much who I am. You know, that is such a wonderful question. Thank you. I don't go into it at all intentionally. It is how I write. It is who I am. It is what keeps me going. It's what keeps me breathing. I know that sounds a little kind of dramatic, but I think I grew
Same.
up in a family where humor was what kept everybody really truly ticking. And I'm not, it's my dad was funny, my mom was funny, I think I learned, or I knew that when I was writing, that adding humor to anything that was really intense or hard made it much more relatable. If I wrote about what the fuck I was going through the last 2 years without humor, I am sure that there are people who would have just kind of like packed it in. And I'm not joking. But finding the humor in what Ken went through, finding the humor in what, politically we're going through, finding something that makes people feel like, okay, yeah, we can try to get through this, or we will get through this. And that's always been how I've been a writer, always. I don't look for the funny, but I'm really grateful that it shows up.
It sounds to me like the humor and a hope go hand in hand, because
Yes.
without humor, there is no hope.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
So true.
Humor and hope. That should be a T-shirt or a billboard. Humor.
Okay, we'll add it to the list. But that's, and I've had people say to me, Deb, you can write serious stuff, and I said, yes, I have a past. I am more than, but I have absolutely no desire. We've all been through traumas and dramas.
Yes.
I've intentionally, the last 6 months or so, notwithstanding, since my mother passed, lived a mostly stress-free existence in LA. It's been a choice sometimes, to minimize the stress, because we have control. We have no control and we have some control, right? But I've had people say, Deb, why don't you write serious things? And I'm like, there are plenty of people who want to write serious stuff. I have absolutely no desire to not be motivational or inspirational, light in tone, because those descriptives are who I am. I don't need, there are plenty of people willing to go down dark pathways and to write. I remember, and this is back when I lived in Chicago doing events, the first event I put together was for Mr. Writers of America. And they were all so excited to mentor me. And I've had a couple conversations. But if I ever wrote a mystery novel, which, by the way, I'm not planning, it would be a cozy mystery, because it would have to be light. Because light is my brand and one I'm very comfortable with.
I'm just going to say this. I don't know how any of us, and I mean any of us that are like in a collective here, can get through the next 3.4 months without humor. Some kind of humor. And I mean that. I literally, I don't find any of it funny, but I think we need to find the humor in what is going on. And I think, Rob, you do that probably magnificently. And I know that Debra does it. Humor is really needed right now. Not funny. I mean, funny is always needed, and going to a movie or watching a series and going, oh my God, this is so funny. I get away for, 8 hours. But I think the world we're living in humor is needed. And I think humor is what saves us a lot of times.
It's funny because it's like, I look at it as a very selfish thing.
Very selfishly?
Cliche about on the airplane about please putting oxygen masks first before assisting other children or other people. It's like, to me, like trying to find levity even if it's not in the situation, but an escape from the situation, is a selfish self-survival preservation instinct.
Yeah.
And I happen to be fortunate enough to be able to get those, and I share with everyone. But it's a
you just said something very amusing that we missed because
Yeah,
your audio cut out.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Deb.
So repeat it.
Yeah, say
give
again.
Give it to us again.
Oh, wait, where did you leave? What did I leave off? Where did I leave off?
You left off with saying.
Yeah, before that.
and I believe you were on a plane, maybe.
No, you said the thing with the airplane where you want to put on your oxygen mask first in humor is self-preservation, and then you were going to give an example.
Well, I think that that was the point, really. I just kind of rambled on after that.
But, we missed that rambling, but you say you cannot repeat the ramble.
It's self-medication. It's self-medication, and then I happen to have either the fortunately the skill or compulsion, you might say, to share it with others. So, but for me, it comes from like trying to help myself get through it, and then I just share what my brain came up with, sometimes in a paid setting and sometimes just in a interjecting setting.
Okay, so part of the self-preservation is doing for yourself, and in doing for yourself, it's uplifting others.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. What are some, and I'm completely with you about this moment in time, Amy, because as you know, my book is was designed for living in a time of joy, to help people get motivated. And now that we live in a time that's the opposite of joy, it's even more important because people need to. I've decided that goals are the antidote. It's the antidote for all that is wrong in the world, because when you set goals and you work on the things that bring you joy, that's going to inevitably leak over into other parts of your life. So what are some of the things that you all do to uplift your spirit so you can share that lightness around you?
I'm going to be really straight on, like, what do? I watch movies and TV series, and we were watching Conan the other night. I need to watch the things that always brought me joy, to kind of reignite that joy. And that for me is really, really important, to go back to it, go back to stuff that like really made me laugh or really filled me up. We watched My Cousin Vinny the other night. And we were sitting around, and Ken and I were like, oh my God, what do you want to do? And we watched it. And I must have seen that movie 10 times. And Dale is a friend of mine, but we laughed, and we were, for 2 hours, the world stopped. And Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei and my friend Jill wrote a book, right? Big Wild Love. And I reread that, and I think, oh my God, Jill Murray, thank you. I go back to the moments that filled me and made me feel like, okay, we're this makes me feel alive. And yes, and Rob, we watched a whole bunch of Conan shows because we thought there were moments in Conan that were just so brilliant. And this was a while. These were shows from a while ago, and so thank you for that. And all me. Yeah, well, if it is or isn't, I just want to thank you for contributing to that, because that's what we do. There's not I go back to the things that gave me joy, and then I reignite that joy, and I recapture that joy, and I think, okay, we were at a different time, yes, but those are the very things that inspire me. And then I sit down at my computer or and I think, okay, I'm going to try and do something that brings joy. So, that's what we're doing, or I'm trying.
I have to tell you before I let Rob answer this question that My Cousin Vinny is the type of movie that if ever I'm flipping the channels, it's on. I have to watch it. That and Shawshank Redemption. So
yes,
about
those are the two. Those are the two. And and it's funny that you say that, because at one moment I thought, what if Joe Pesci was in Shawshank Redemption? Can we combine those two? Because those are really truly the two movies. One is so filled with humor and just crazy, and then the other is filled with amazing hope. So maybe it should be called Shawshank Vinny.
I was in my brain trying to combine them. I like Shawshank Vinny.
But Rob, and I'm not joking, and I'm not bullshitting you. We go back to Conan and more Conan, because it felt very, I don't know, there was more truth to that. I don't know. Is that the way to say it? I just felt like he was right there. And Conan was, Conan was out there, and he was there with a lot of, what?
Have you seen his travel show on Max?
Yes. And my friend Rachel did his documentary.
Oh, really?
Did a documentary on him.
Yes.
Because the world is that small.
That's small.
Oh, the world is so tiny.
The Debaverse is tiny.
The world is very tiny, Deb.
Yeah, and it's even smaller if you're in the Debaverse.
There you go.
Rob, what do you do to lift your spirits other than making yourself and your kids?
I know he's going to say that he watches my movies. I know that.
It must be that.
How did you? Well, now I have nothing left to say. I'll have to just get offline again. One thing is, I'll bring this one up, even though it's a little bit more infrequent, because I think it might be instructive in a certain way. When I was in high school, I played the drums in a really bad garage band, and then I played in the marching band in college. So I was a very kind of recreational amateur drummer. And then I sang a little bit in choir. I was sort of always kind of into music, but never really serious about it. And then when I turned 50, I decided I wanted to learn a new musical instrument, and I decided that my family would kick me out, and so would my landlord if I took up the drums again. Also, my cardiologist might have some issues with it too. But I also didn't want to take up a really complex musical instrument with my training, so I took up the bass guitar, which is a little bit rhythmic, a little bit musical, and I started just trying to teach myself it with a little bit of instruction, and now I just play with a couple of other people who are sort of passionate amateurs like myself, and all we do is just rent a studio space for 2 or 3 hours, and just work on just play a couple of covers of familiar songs and that sort of thing, just to do it and just to do something completely different. But I think people get intimidated about trying a new thing as a hobby or an activity, because if it seems very hard, and for me, as compared to my professional work or being a dad or other things like that, the stakes are so low that I could just do this. I could just mess around kind of with other people in a very low key way, which is a nice antidote to the stress of the of the sort of the rest of the parts of my life.
Okay, well, two things. Did you know that, and I just learned this last week, that Brian Fishback, who also writes for the Jewish Journal, also plays bass?
Of course he does.
And the other thing is, I want to know, are you going to start a dad band so you can hang out with Katie? Katie Chin's got what is it? Never Too Late. I think that's her family band name. There's a whole subculture in LA of dad bands.
It's a whole thing. I knew about the David Wayne one, but I didn't know about there was more of them. There were lots of them.
Yes, they did something called Datitude Fest about a month ago that I believe Katie's husband organized, and it was like 5 dad bands. It was like Dadapalooza. So I'm going to check in with you on this the next time I interview you, for whether it's here for JJ or something else. But I think it's something worth considering. You could be the new Partridge Family.
Dadapalooza? Oh,
yeah, they called it Datitude Fest.
No, that would be brilliant.
Datitude.
Datitude.
Well, the band is only 50% dad, so that's a problem. But you can see.
Well, again, Katie Chin is in a dad band, and she is also not a dad. So.
Not a dad.
No.
All right.
Anyway, but I like this idea of learning something new, because I think that also helps keep your brain active and not catastrophizing.
Right.
Okay, can you say the word again?
Keeps your brain pliable. What?
Can you, Deborah, can you say that word again?
Oh, it keeps you from catastrophizing.
Okay. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's I don't think I made that up.
I think you might have.
But I think a lot of people have been catastrophizing lately, and some with very good reason. But humor, see what I did there, is a great antidote.
I love that.
To catastrophizing.
Keep going.
Yeah. So when I am guessing writer's block has visited one or both of you. Is this correct?
I lived in that neighborhood for a few years.
Okay, so what do you do to get out of your head and start writing again?
I don't do anything. And I know that other people will say that, that they do a whole lot of shit. I don't do anything. I let it just go through me like the flu. And because I kind of feel, I feel if I'm blocked, that I need to get through whatever it is that is blocking me. And it usually is something that has to do with my marriage. Thank you, Ken. Or something that I don't want to face. It has really nothing to do with what I'm writing. And I'm being really straightforward, honest. And writer's block for me is actually a really good thing. Because I get to look at what it is in my daily life, not in my writing life, but in my daily life that I'm avoiding or misconstruing and Deborah, you know my marriage, so it's writer's block for me is bigger and more than just writing. It's something else that keeps coming up, whether it's dealing with something in my personal life or, and then when I face it head on and realize that it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm writing, then I can just write. But I actually really appreciate writer's block because it gives me the opportunity to look at something that I'm pushing aside. I know that probably nobody else in the world would ever say that, but that's me.
Well, it is you, and you are you, and that is why you are here. But it's very
that's
relevant.
Really Cummings home.
It's very relevant though to the goal space, because we want everything yesterday, which I think is just the mentality, right? We're in an instant world and we want our success and we've been working hard, and why is something taking forever, whether it's a project or career endeavor or what have you. And sometimes things are just not yet. And when you get to points in time where it's like banging your head against the wall, whether it's a project or an issue that you're dealing with in your life, sometimes you need to hit the pause button and say, it's okay. I'll get back to it later, or I will do this for a while, and that will energize me and get me excited to go back to the other thing.
And when you just said that, banging my head against the wall, it's usually the wall.
That's banging you?
It's usually the wall that is, yeah. But my relationship with writer's block is very, very different, because I do look at it as, wow, this isn't about what I'm writing. There's something else that has been triggered, or something else that I'm not dealing with. And it usually is not connected to what I'm writing. And I happen to really appreciate that I get the opportunity to face it head on.
Most people would run screaming the other direction. So I think you're doing that really well, right?
I know. And yeah, so that's what happens for me.
I was interviewed this morning, and we're talking about when an appointment cancels, rather than get frustrated that, oh my goodness, I got to fill it with work. The best thing you can do when that happens is to fill it with joy.
Yes.
Use it as like bonus time that you didn't expect to have. And you could do it to do something that uplifts your spirits, whether it is watching an episode of Conan that Rob may or may not have contributed to.
And now I'm going to be really clear. I'm going to kind of look at all the writing credits. But yes.
Right. But anytime that you have, whether it's a forced break or an intentional one, you need to take it to re-energize and uplift your spirits so you can face the rest of the day, the week, the month, whatever is going on. Rob, is this your solution to writer's block? Get dropped off of the live video?
Rob disappeared for a few minutes, so
I know he did. And I can't tell if you're frozen or you're just thinking.
Oh,
I think he's frozen again. Yeah.
Frozen. Okay, maybe we should answer for him. What do you think?
Okay, so I think when Rob gets no,
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
But do you have something that you're working on right now that you're really excited about?
Are you asking me or Rob?
Yes, I'm asking. No, I'm asking you. Rob's
yes.
not here.
I'm right. Okay, so I have a new book coming out, March 2026, Amy in Retrograde. I am so excited about it. It is all about my addiction to psychics, from when I was really young to when I finally broke. It's kind of like, oh my God. It's called Amy in Retrograde, and Glitterati publishers it's coming out March 2026.
Okay. So I'm going to have to interview you for something for that.
Oh, and you have to really truly interview Marta Kaufman. She wrote the foreword.
Okay. I like that. I think I interviewed her years ago.
Oh, I think you did.
When I was writing for Script Magazine.
Yes, you did. You did.
Wow. Because again, the world is small. But when you're in the Devoverse, it's even smaller.
The world is tiny. So that's the new book that's coming out in about a year from now, less than a year.
Oh, you're going to blink.
What do you mean?
You're going to blink and it's going to be yet, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know what you meant. Yeah.
Yes.
And I love this book. This book is 25 years in the works.
Wow. And what is it about it? Is it one of those passion projects that you always wanted to write that's finally come to fruition?
Debra, I've been writing about my psychic experiences since like 1977. And I started writing a book, and it was all about, all of my psychic addictions. And I put it away for a really long time. And then about a year and a half ago or a year ago, I found it on my computer. I found, and I read it, and I thought, oh my God, this is so funny and so weird. And I just fell madly in love with those stories that got me here, actually. the very first psychic who told me I would never find love, to finding love and finding Ken. And it all came together. And Glitterati Publishers, and they're pretty cool. They've mostly done coffee table books, and Andy Warhol, and and all of these incredible books. And my friend Marta Hallett, who's the publisher, I sent it to her just to read. And she called me up and said, Amy, I want to do this. I've never done this before. I've never done this kind of book. And and then I reached out to Marta Kaufman and said, would you do the forward? Because she had read it and encouraged me to do this. And so it kind of feels like we're doing this together.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited, and I know exactly what magazines I want to pitch the article on you to. So we will sidebar when it gets a little
wacky
closer.
And weird. It is so wacky and weird, really, truly. I mean, the crap that psychics tell you, and you kind of like think, oh my God, yeah, I have to follow this.
Mm-hmm. I remember, and we're going back more than 20 years. I interviewed a psychic for an article, and she told me to stay away from, and she gave me a name, and I thought I knew who she meant, and then in retrospect, it was someone else that I did not stay away from, but I should have.
Oh.
Yeah. I totally get it. I completely get it.
Rob, welcome back. We missed you.
Welcome back, Rob. We missed you.
Yes, and I think he's frozen again.
He's frozen again. Oh my God.
I'm going to call this an example of why we love live, because live is like improv. Sometimes you just have to roll with the punches and see what happens. Oh, Rob, you're moving again. Real quick before
you're back. You're back. You're back.
How do you deal with writer's block? Do you deal with writer's block? And now we can't hear you.
Oh my God. Okay.
I mean, this is a pretty fabulous conversation. Can you imagine how much even more fabulous it would be if we could have heard Rob the entire time?
I think if we maybe had an interpreter, listen to me. I
yes.
From Long Island. If we had. Oh my God, Rob.
Yeah,
Rob.
He's not. He is frozen. For those of you who are listening, this is us just
I'm in Pennsylvania, in like the smallest little town in Pennsylvania. How can he be like that frozen in LA?
I will tell you.
Okay, he needs to write about this.
Yes, my guess, I can't interpret for him because he is not here and I have nothing to interpret, but we do get a lot of trucks and we get a lot of disruptions in the circuit. And I hardline my show so I don't go offline. I think it happened once and my people talked amongst themselves and came back. But this is, I guess, it's the joy of the conversation.
It's so perfect because it's about comedy and writing comedy, and this is really
we couldn't have made this up, right?
You can't make this up.
What other things do you think people can do to have levity in all of the crazy? Because I'm completely with you on we need to find our sense of humor, even though there are a lot of extremely devastating things going on.
I'm going to be less funny right now.
Please.
I think we need to all stand in our power. I think we need to activate all of those moments in our life. We need to activate our lives. We do. And whether it's through humor or anything else, I think we all need to activate our humanity. Some of us can activate it through humor. Some of us can activate it in another way. Rob activates it through his humor and being brilliant. I think that's what we need right now. We need to activate our own lives. And we're facing something that I've never faced before. And, you know, and I want to be bold and audacious. I want to be out there. I want to encourage other people to not be afraid, to use their voice and be funny and be humorous, you know, and make people feel that joy in a way that maybe they're afraid. Joy is a campaign, by the way. It is.
I am a fan.
I know you are.
So in living in joy and living in our power, that is the way that we fight against all the challenges.
Yeah. And joy is power. You know, Rob wrote for all of these shows, right? And all of those shows inspired us. I'm not blowing smoke up his ass. I'm literally saying that when we watch those shows at, you know, late night and coming off of the news and coming off of the horror of what's going on, and we go onto Conan or go onto any of those shows, we're inspired to be better. Nobody's saying, you know, be really funny and, you know, and don't take this seriously. Very different being funny and taking it seriously. And I think that that's what Rob and all of those writers do. They make us think. They make us go, oh my God, we can really be funny, but we gotta be really serious. You know, these are hard times.
To be seriously funny.
You're still looking at it. You're still looking at it the other way around, which is as if we're doing some kind of service, as opposed to, as I said, the self-medicating. What we're doing is we're sharing the neuroses in our brain that help us cope with it, dumping all the bad stuff on you because we have to deal with it as well. So we're sharing misery. We're sharing the misery, and we're sharing the medicine. Aiming at the.
Rob, what did you just say about self-medicating? Because I think I loved it.
I said it's still self-medicating both sides of that. It's not really about some kind of, you know, public service or something. What we're doing is we're downloading the medicine that we use, our fevered brains use to deal with this stuff, and sharing that. But then also all the dark stuff, we're sharing it because if we've got to suffer through it, then so do you. Like when I went to the Daily Show, an average day I'd be like watching hours of Fox News and C-SPAN.
Oh,
so just to find those elusive clips. So if we've got to watch some of that, you've got to suffer through some of it too.
Okay, so you're doing it. It helps you, and in turn, it helps others. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
And we love that.
Help you, help me. Help you, help me. Help you, help me is what I'm saying.
Okay, so we're back to the mask on the airplane.
Well,
yes, exactly.
And I'm a huge fan, as you both know, about the mission statements. You know, it's all about who you are, what makes you unique, and how you will help. And I always say, entertaining. I mean, it could be a product or a service, but entertaining and informing is just as good a mission as anything else, because it's exactly what you're saying. Art inspires art, but it also inspires people to, when they're happier, they do more, they're better.
Yeah.
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 I don't know if you heard the last question, Rob. I was asking, what can people do in this moment of time to get through it, using humor or otherwise?
Well, I feel like I've said a version of this on your show before, so I hope people don't go through the Deb archives and call me on it. But be nice to me, Chad. But I think just kind of like the bass thing, like get out there and just try to create something or just do something expressive. Well, did you?
Okay, so creation.
Lose me. Like, just kind of get yourself out and try to do something expressive or create, even if it's not for anybody, for an audience, or for anybody, even if it's just for yourself.
Yeah.
And it could find an audience. Or it could just make you happy.
Sometimes things, probably these stories of these too, Amy. People who start trying to do something, and they're kind of doing something else on the side for fun or for family or friends. For fun, ends up finding some kind of audience and becoming the thing it takes off. So just doing something for its own, whether its own reward or not, I think it does it. At the very least, it turns your mind out of the doom scrolling, powerless pattern that the rest of our sort of media and culture have conspired to put us into.
It almost sounds like this is a goal to gift to the audience. Or did you want to suggest something on top of this, Rob? What is something someone could do today, tomorrow, and then I'm going to make you say something else as well. But what can somebody do today, tomorrow, to bring more humor into their lives?
Oof.
I mean, like the classic opening move is find something that people are afraid of, or that people are intimidated by, and
oh, that was going to be so good. And you disappeared again.
You want to repeat it?
I'm here. I'm back.
Yes. And Rob, I can hear you, but now I can't see you.
Oof.
Really?
Yeah. Really? And what you said was to find something people are afraid of or intimidated by.
I love that.
And then we missed the punchline.
And then lock in and find something stupid or ridiculous or pathetic about it and focus on that.
Okay, I heard that.
I did too. Okay, I like that. And should they put it into something creative, or is this just a coping mechanism thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a two-sided goal, look for that thing and then put something creative into the world that wasn't there before, a week ago, about that thing, and don't show it to anyone, but just put something in the world that wasn't there before.
Okay, I like that. And what about you, Amy? What goal do you want to gift?
I think Amy's fled the podcast.
What? Where'd you go? Amy.
She's fled the podcast. Yep, Suspect has fled the podcast. We gotta run her.
Amy?
Yes.
What goal do you want to gift? What's something someone could do today, tomorrow to bring more humor into their lives?
Oof, to bring more humor into their lives. I think that we should all go back and watch the things that gave us joy. Read the books that filled us up. I think we need to love better. I think we need to love more. I think we need to be kinder to the people who are kind to us. I think without being too kind of, like I said, we watched my Cousin Vinny the other night, and I reread my friend, Jill's book. And that is the stuff that just makes me feel like, okay. I can feel that kind of joy. I can feel that passion. It's really hard right now to ignite all of that. We're living in a world where it's like, oh my God, every day we're bombarded by so much pain and awful and negativity. So I, try to watch the movies and the TV that make me feel, okay, this gives me joy. This fills me, and that ignites something in me. That really does. Read a book that gave you hope, from 10 years ago. Go read, all of these wonderful books, and write and be truthful and love better. For me, I feel like I'm living in a world where there's so much negativity and anger and nasty and hate. And how do I counter that? By being kinder, by loving a stranger, by going up to a woman in a store and saying, "You look beautiful today." Doing something that makes me feel very much part of my own heart. And I know this is all about humor, but those are the things that I need to do. I need to acknowledge somebody on a daily basis. I need to watch the things and the movies that gave me a lot of joy and made me laugh. I need to get reconnected with my laughter.
I loved everything you said, but I particularly liked about complimenting someone, because it makes their day and your day. So talk about your double win-win, right?
Without a doubt. I think when I see a woman, who's looking particularly lovely, and I go up to her and say, "Oh my God, you look beautiful today," she responds with so much joy. And I just feel like, okay, I did something really kind. We can do that. We can ignite.
And it's free.
Oh, it costs
you nothing to be kind to other people.
No tariffs attached.
When I do what they call security.
What?
When I do what they call
He's
security.
being funny.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Rob.
Yes, we still can't see you. It's a dark screen, but
weird.
your humor came through.
I see myself
I
on
do
your
want
screen.
I do want to acknowledge Kate Farrell, who's watching this live, who said, "I just came across this important podcast. We are all dealing with these crazy times and trying to stay sane. I've been thinking of my childhood lately as an escape. Some of the hard times now are amazing or funny." So thank you for sharing that, Kate. Sometimes you need to go back to childhood to remember the joyful things and bring, or even, when you're trying to figure out your goals, if your life right now is not making you happy, maybe there was something you did that when you were a kid, whether it's, playing an instrument or you had a lemonade stand or whatever it is. But if you have to go in the Wayback Machine, it's there for you. Take the ride and dive into that light so you could bring it forward.
I like that. Dive into the light.
There's so much darkness. We have to I am counter-programming. We have our editorial meetings for the Jewish Journal, and I always go last because I write about food. And I love that the role of joy is as important as the role of covering the things that are going on in the world. They're not mutually exclusive. You need both.
We need both. Yes, we do.
This has been a wonderful and interesting and slightly tech glitchy, but nourishing conversation nonetheless. Where can people learn more about you and your books, friends? Amy?
Oh, just follow me on Facebook. My website is down, and just follow me on Facebook and all of that. And
okay, and follow Amy on Facebook. I will put the link in the recap. Rob, where's the best place for people to find you?
RobKutner.com or Rob Kutner, no punctuation, on Instagram, or R Kutner, or whatever the code is at Blue Sky. Do R Kutner, it'll come up.
Awesome. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will read the recap and get the goals, and you can watch/listen to, sometimes it's birds and sometimes it's conversation. And if you need a little bit of extra help with your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. And I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you subscribe to At the Deb Method on YouTube, you can watch all of the replays at your leisure. Friends, what final thought do you want to leave people with today? Rob, final thought?
You've got something to say that no one has ever said before that the world needs to hear.
Okay. Amy, final thought?
My final thought is just be loud, be audacious, be bold. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not enough. Go out there. Go out there. Do your thing. Be you.
Be you, because you are beyond enough. And if you don't know it, we will tell you. You're enough. Just play this over and over again. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Amy, for this important and very serious conversation about the importance of humor. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can also subscribe to Goal Chat on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you enjoy your podcast. So make some humor goals, bring more light into the world. Go for it, because we know you can do it.
Yes. Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you.